Okay, so this is video notes for 2.7, solving literal equations for a variable. Let's get into it. So a blank is an equation that states a rule for a relationship among quantities. Okay, so a blank is an equation that states a rule for a relationship among quantities. Okay, so that's going to be a formula. A formula is a type of algebraic equation. A blank equation has one or more variables, and this is going to be linear. So don't worry too much about that, right? That's just kind of some definitions, but I'm going to show you exactly what I want you to do and how I want you to do it, okay? So for example, one, whenever we have an equation with two variables, we have an x and a y. Most of the time, it's going to be x and y, and they're going to tell you to solve for one of the variables. Now, in lessons before, we wanted to get our variable alone, and we wanted it to be y equals some sort of number, right? Our goal was to get y equals a number, okay? But when we have two variables, what you're going to find is that we're not going to be able to get y equals a number because we also have a second variable. But that's okay. Our goal is still going to be to get y alone. We want to have y equals whatever is left. We want to get y alone. Okay. It may not come out as a number, but we want to get y alone. So for here, solve 3x plus y equals 4 for y. We're trying to get y alone. So first thing we got to do is I'm just going to write this down so we have some more room. 3x plus y equals 4. Now I have to ask myself, when I draw this line down my equal sign, is y alone on this side of the equal sign? Everything to the left of the equal sign, is y alone? No. I have 3x being added to y. Okay, so since y is not alone, I'm going to have to use the tools I know to move everything else to the other side. So because I want to remove all of this, right? This is 3 times x, but I'm trying to move everything over. I'm going to subtract 3x. Okay. This is kind of like lesson 2.4. When we want to remove the whole thing, we're going to subtract it, right? This is a positive 3x, so I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to subtract 3x. Now, if I minus 3x to this side, I have to minus it to this side. But here's the thing. 3x, if we know our like terms, x's cannot be combined with numbers. X's cannot be combined with numbers, right? So this 3x is going to cancel here. And I'm going to get y over here. My y is alone. That's great. But I can't combine 4 minus 3x because remember algebra tiles, x's cannot be combined with numbers. Well, guess what? We don't have to do any more math. All we're going to do is write out negative 3x and our positive 4. And this order doesn't matter. You could have put 4 minus 3x. Doesn't really matter. The point is my y is alone on this side of the equal sign. This is how I know I'm done. Put a big box around it. Because they told me to solve for y, my y is alone. Again, I'm not getting y equals just a single number. That's okay because we have two variables. This is what we got to do. So this is just going to be a lot of practice, okay? A lot of practice. All right. So once again, we're solving for y. We're solving for y. Let me rewrite this so I have a little more room. 4y minus 6x equals 16. Is my y alone? No, my y is not alone. I'm going to have to do some math. So once again, this is like a two-step equation, right? Before I deal with this 4 attached to this y, let's move everything else around it first. So I'm going to put a box around my y, and I'm going to deal with these this outer math first, right? So minus 6x, if I want to move this whole thing to the other side of the equal sign, I'm going to do the opposite, plus 6x. What I do to one side, I do to the other, plus 6x. Now I know that these are going to cancel out. I'm going to be left with what's in my box, which is 4y. Not done yet because there's a 4, but we'll get to that next. Can I combine x's? Can I combine 6x with 16? No. This has an x, this doesn't. So I'm just going to write it out as 6x plus 16. Now I can put a plus sign in front of the 16 because it's positive, right? These are being added together. Now, my y is not alone, okay? My y is being multiplied by 4. So I still need to get y alone. So if this is being multiplied by 4, I need to do the opposite of multiplication. I'm going to divide by 4. Now, if I divide one side by 4, I'm going to divide the other side by 4. So there's two ways of doing this. I can divide each one by 4, or I can divide them all by 4. Okay, so I'm just going to divide them all by 4 like this. The 4's cancel out. I'm left with y equals. And for now, rather than dealing with fractions and dealing with decimal points, I'm okay with you copying all this down for your answer right here. So 6x plus 16 divided by 4. That is the answer right here. Problem number 3. Negative 2x plus y equals 10 for y. So again, we're solving for y. So I'm going to rewrite this. Negative 2x plus y equals 10. Is my y alone? No, it's not. I'm going to have to move some stuff around. So I'm going to move this first, right over here. I'm going to move the whole thing because I'm trying to move it all to the other side. So if this is minus 2x, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to add 2x to both sides. This is going to cancel out. I'm left with y equals. These are not like terms. I cannot combine 2x with 10. So I can write this out. Once again, order doesn't matter, so I'm going to write it this time 10 plus 2x. This is my answer. I know because y is alone on one side of the equal sign. I'm going to put a big box around it. All right, again, for number 4, we're solving for y. Okay, y minus 5x equals 20. Is my y alone on this side of the equal sign? No, I have a minus 5x. Well, if I want to move this whole thing to the other side, I'm going to add 5x. I'm going to do that to both sides. These are going to cancel out. I'm left with y is alone. Once again, this has an x, this doesn't. I can't combine them, so I'm just going to write them both out. 20 plus 5x. Problem number 5. Once again, we're solving for y. We're solving for y. Okay. I'm going to rewrite this. Negative x equals y minus 4. Is my y alone? No, it is not. Okay. My y is not alone. This time, we're subtracting the number 4. So I need to add 4 to undo this 4, this negative 4. I need to add 4. I need to do the opposite operation, which opposite of subtraction is addition. Adding 4. What I do to this side, I do to the other side. plus 4. These 4s are going to cancel. On my right side, I'm left with just y. My y is alone. Left side or right side doesn't matter as long as y is alone on one side of the equal sign. Now I have a positive 4 and a negative x. So I can write this either way as long as I honor the sign to the left of the number. Okay. So I'm going to write x first. I have to look to the left of x. This is a negative x. So I'm going to write this as negative x. And this is a positive 4 plus 4. Another way you could have wrote this is y equals, instead of negative x plus 4, you could have put 4 minus x, right? Because there's nothing to the left of the 4, I know it's positive. That's how you know it's positive. When there's nothing to the left, if there's no negative sign, it's positive. So negative x plus 4 and x minus 4, it's actually the same thing. They're just in two different orders. Either one is perfectly acceptable, perfectly fine. That's your answer. Question number 6. We have a fraction. Do we like fractions? No, we do not. So if we want to get rid of these fractions, what we're going to do is fraction bust. So I'm going to rewrite this so I have more room. I'm still solving for y, so my goal is to get y alone. Y is not alone. First thing I want to do, if I want to get rid of a fraction, I'm going to do the opposite of a fraction. So fraction is 1 divided by 3. If I want to get rid of a fraction, I'm going to multiply by the bottom number. I'm going to times this whole thing by 3. But what's interesting about fraction busting, something that's really important. Fraction busting, you don't just do to one side, you do to every single term. So if I'm going to multiply this by 3, not only am I going to multiply this by 3, I'm also going to multiply this minus 2 by 3. Okay? Everything is being multiplied by 3. Well, what's nice is it's called fraction busting because it busts those fractions. The fraction is gone. Those 3's cancel out. I'm left with 1y. 1y is the same thing as y. But y is not alone left because I still have this negative 2 times 3. Well, negative 2 times 3 in my calculator, I type it in, is negative 6. Right? 3 times 2 is 6. And because of that negative sign, I'm going to have y minus 6. I took negative 2 and I times it by 3. And I'm keeping that sign there. Equals 4x times 3. Again, I multiply the front numbers. 4 times 3 is 12. And I keep the x because the x is involved. Now this is similar to some of the other problems we had. My y is not alone. I'm going to do the opposite. So if this is subtract 6, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to add 6 both sides. This cancels out. Hey, my y is alone. I can put y equals. But 12x and 6 are not like terms, so I'm going to write it out as 12x plus 6. That is my answer. You can put a box around it. Okay, so this last question, right, they're just trying to get you to think about what a future lesson is going to be. Right, so it says rewrite the equation so that y is a function of x, then use your answer to find y when x is negative 3. So that word function, we're going to deal with this word a lot later this year. But pretty much what they want you to do right now is solve for y. Okay, they want you to solve for y. Solve for y. Okay, then after we solve for y, we're going to do something with this over here. Okay, so first we're going to find y. That's our first goal right here. Solve for y. So to do this, right, we want to get our y alone. I'm going to start with this equation here. Is my y alone? No, I have a minus 5x. I have a negative 5x being added to y. Okay. I need to move this to get my y alone. To do that, I do the opposite. Opposite of negative 5x or opposite of subtraction is going to be addition or positive. So I'm going to add 5x to both sides. Now remember, this isn't fraction busting, so I'm only going to do it to each side of the equal sign. This is going to cancel here. My y drops down. These are not like terms, so I'm just going to write them out. Okay, I have a positive 5x, and I have a negative 6, which I can write as subtract 6. So negative and subtraction, there's a relationship together. There's a relationship. So now I solve for y. Okay, I solve for my y. But I'm not done. Now they want me to plug in, right? Remember, this is what we did chapter 1. Plug in negative 3. They want me to plug in negative 3 wherever there's an x, okay? So I'm going to take this negative 3, and I'm going to plug it in there. So I can rewrite this as y equals 5. Now remember, this is 5 times x, but we're going to replace x with negative 3. So I'm going to put in parentheses a negative 3. I didn't touch the minus 6. Now I have all numbers on this side, okay? So these are all like terms. I'm just going to calculate these numbers. So I can type in exactly as I see it. When we have a number glued to a number in parentheses, it's multiplication. Our calculator will solve this for us. And I'm going to get negative 21. So my answer is going to be y equals negative 21. So y equals negative 21 when we plug in negative 3 for x. All right, guys, so this is the notes for today, and your homework today will be 2.7. So go ahead and work on 2.7 homework.